Mm-mm-mm. Hey, you guys, this is another episode of My Lazy Journey. As you know, every week I like to bring some sort of specialist you guys should have in your back pocket. Today, I am going to be introducing Miss Evelyn. So I'm going to go ahead and read her in, and then, of course, we're just going to bring her right on up. So, Evelyn is the founder of Ruby Money, a pocket CFO. We're going to dive into that in just a moment. For solo operators, she has checked the resume boxes and MBA, let me say that MBA, and has spent decades working as an executive in the financial service industry. She is a stand. This is the most important piece, guys. She has run her own successful independent design strategy practice and has been in our shoes, your shoes, my shoes, all that. And as a money nerd at heart, she's figured out a wealth of money tips because you guys, we know we got to talk about money as business owners. We see it all the time on social media. Okay, sorry, y'all. I'm going to my spiel. But anyway, she's figured out a wealth of money tips so you don't have to. So I'm going to bring up Miss Evelyn so she can go ahead and dive on in because y'all know we got to talk about money. This is things people don't like to talk about. So let me get her on. Hello.
What's up, lady? Let's talk about money.
Yes, I'm super excited. So I read all some of your credentials, so we're not even going to go there. What we're going to ask you, so did you always know you were going to be in the financial industry? Like, what was the path for you to land in finance?
Yeah, so I think I'm one of the lucky ones that I grew up in a household that money was dinner time conversation. And I totally recognize that is not everybody, right? But I was lucky that I was born into that and just I found as I grew older and older, the more important that became as foundation for me, for my family. I think, and I realized it was pretty different than a lot of people that I saw out there. So I've always been really mission driven, and it's a weird thing to say. Yeah, I'm going to go work in financial services or work at a
Yeah.
bank because I'm mission driven, but that's the truth, right? It's like I just really, really firmly believe the power of being on top of your money. And that doesn't mean that you have to be a CPA or that you need to be a
Right.
financial advisor. All it means is that you have some baseline foundational knowledge and that you take action. It's the pairing of those two different things. So that's my personal journey with it. And that mission driven bent is how I've always been in financial services. So whether that was running a microfinance program way back in the day to working at Capital One at an actual bank or
Oh, wow.
founding Ruby Money, which, yes, is this pocket CFO.
Okay, so we're gonna hold that Pocket CFO. So disclaimer, guys, I have it. I need to do better with using it, but it is amazing. So I just want to have her talk about it a little bit more. So please tell us about this Pocket CFO. Like, what is that? Especially for people that may not know what CFO is, and just dive in. Tell us all about it. Juicy
Yeah.
details.
So I'm going to start out with a little bit more of the story. So, yes, I've done the corporate good girl thing, right? And like you mentioned, I have always had the side hustle. So I'm a designer by trade, I'm a teacher by heart, and I always did something on the side. Now, I also had a point in my life where I decided to do that full time, like you, like all of you that are watching, right? It's like either you're taking the leap or you've done that and you're building what you have as your business. So I was in your shoes. And remember, I am the money nerd and I've worked in financial services my entire career. And still, that was the first year I did not put any money aside into retirement in my like that was the only year in my whole adult life I haven't done that. And I did not know I needed to pay quarterly taxes until probably like April 14th when my CPA calls me. He's like, "Oh, so how much have you paid?" I'm like, "Excuse me?" All right. So I fell into all of the same, I won't say traps, but like I fell into all the same learnings that we all do when we're hacking together this system, right? And I think I realized if I was struggling with this and I have all this background with money, am I quite comfortable with money? Imagine how many millions of other people struggle with this. And I think that if I look back on it, was really this seed of saying, this is not fair. Right? It's
Yeah.
not just that, actually, it's not even that we have a problem. It's not us at all. Right? It's if every single one of us is hacking together a new system to try to make the money stuff work for us when we go solo, that means the system is the problem. And that's not cool. Right?
Right. Yeah. We agree.
Everything comes from. And so that was like the mission behind why we've built Ruby Money. And then really, really specifically, like, what is this? Like, what is it that we do? I call it the easy button for taxes. So flashback to my experience and to like many of your experiences. This is what I hear all the time. So number one, I might not know that I need to pay quarterly taxes. Right. I was in that boat.
Yeah.
Number two, even if you know, right, and like rock on if you actually know this, but even if you know, how much are you supposed to pay?
Right.
Right. The government's saying estimate how much you think you're going to earn for the rest of the year and then how much you owe in taxes. You're like, I don't know. The whole point behind freelancing or being a consultant or being solo is sometimes you have sometimes it's feast, sometimes it's famine, sometimes you
Right. Exactly.
Right. Like, how are you supposed to know, right? If I ask you this question right now, like, how much are you going to earn this year? I'd either be like,
yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It could go either way.
exactly, right. So that happens, right? How am I supposed to know how much to pay in quarterly taxes? Okay, then even if you have all those things, you know the date, kind of have an amount or percentage in your head, the due date rolls around, and wait, I was supposed to have saved that money in my bank account, right? So like, all right, I was supposed to. I knew that I was supposed to save the 30%, but when I look at my bank account, it wasn't there. So what happens? Like come April of every single year, we get big tax bills. We scramble around trying to move money from one account to another, saying, let me pay this. And even with that, we're all kind of end up paying penalties because we didn't pay quarterly and the government expects us and needs us to pay quarterly. And so that's the problem. So Ruby Money, this pocket CFO, it fixes all that. This is literally why we built this. Like that stuff is a pain in the butt. It's a pain in the butt. It's a system that like needs to be built. So we're the easy button that takes care of all of those different things. And number one, we actually are calculating for you how much to set aside in your taxes based on real-time income. Okay, so we connect it to your bank account. You know this, right? Because you use the product.
I was like, yeah, it comes in handy. I was like, I haven't just been like this total disclaimer, y'all. I've been just flat this year, but next year I'm like setting everything up to Ruby Money. But anyway, I'm gonna let her talk.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know this because you have your bank account connected with us. And so you know that every single time you get paid, we're keeping track of that. So we have a running tally of how much have you earned so far this year, which means that we can give you a very accurate number of how much you should be setting aside in your taxes. Okay, so we're solving that problem, number one. Then number two, the automation stuff, right? Which basically means because, again, we know every time that you're getting paid, every time that happens, we can automatically set aside the right amount for taxes. It's setting it aside. It's stashing it away. So the money is going to be there when you need it. Right? There's no more looking at your bank account and saying like, oh, wait, that bill's coming due and I don't have enough money in there. The money is there. You saved it every single time you got paid, right? It's your account. It's your money. You always have control of that, but you have set it aside and you've done it, like set it and forget it. Then when those quarterly deadlines roll by, you do not have to use any crazy bureaucratic websites. You do not need to like cut the vouchers and send in paper checks and snail mail, right? You click one button and you pay those taxes through Ruby. So check, 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 right? Like easy button on taxes. That is what we've built.
And it is amazing. Like I am super excited to like really like dive in. I was looking at all the additions that you added throughout the year. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited to like really dive into this. So with that being said, is this open for everybody? Like, let's say I'm just starting out. Like, should I sign up for it? Because, you know, some people are kind of leery. Like, I'm not making money in my business yet. Like, is this for me or is it when you have to make like a certain amount? So could you clarify that?
Great question. Yeah. So I was just telling you, like, we were starting to create some educational content for ourselves too. And I get asked this question all the time, right? It's like, I might rephrase it a little bit, but it's like, when do I start paying myself first? And when do I really start owing taxes? And like sometimes those questions are linked together. So I want to address both of them because it's actually the same answer, which is start now. come as you are, like whether you are literally day one and just taking the leap, which might mean you still have a full-time job and they're doing the side hustle. Or if you've been building the business for a while and maybe you've hit a plateau, or maybe you're having a banner year, like whatever that is, come as you are. And you should be, number one, paying yourself first. And number two, setting aside money for your taxes as soon as you start. As soon as you start. And there's a couple reasons for this one. So the primary reason, and especially around paying yourself first, is if you don't start that habit now, you ain't never going to do it. Yeah. And I remember this from my own experience too, that a couple of years into doing my own thing, I kind of hit a plateau, and the plateau wasn't that I wasn't making good money. I was actually making good money in terms of the overall revenue from the business. I just wasn't taking home as much as I thought I should have into my own pocket. And I kind of like scratching my head. I was like, I see the revenue numbers going up, but my take home isn't. So what's happening? And I had to really flip my mindset, because before I was earning revenue, paying all my expenses, and then looking at what's left over. And like this bucket was what I was paying myself. I was like, okay, let me flip that around. And instead it's number one, you're earning money, which is great, right? You're earning the revenue. Then you set aside your pay before you tackle expenses. Pay yourself first, right? And like once I actually started doing that, then I actually started keeping more in my pocket, and like the pocket that was left over, like this became expenses, right? And like that's what flexes. So the expenses are what went up and down, but what I ended up paying myself remained constant as a percentage. Right? So I think like that principle of doing that and starting immediately is so important. And the same thing for taxes. Okay, so I think people assume, oh, if I'm my first year in business, I don't owe any taxes, all of this. The truth is, the IRS says if you are going to earn enough income that over the course of a year, you will owe $1,000 in taxes, you need to pay quarterly, period. Okay, there's none of this, but if you're in your first year, it's okay. Like, no, that's the rule. That is the rule. Right? And so plan for success. You're going to earn enough in your business that you owe $1,000 in taxes, because that's not that much, right? Right? If you're earning a few thousand in income in your business, you might be there. Right? So pay your taxes, pay yourself first. So that was the long-winded answer to you. And so who are we for? It's like, come as you are and start right when you start.
No, that was actually really helpful. I was actually going to like ask you about that, like because people always ask like pay yourself first. Like I don't know what that means. Like should I be paying expenses first? Like does that count as that? So like I'm really glad you clarified that. Like even for myself, I'm just like okay, like I reevaluate my own like things I'm doing on my end too. But so my next thing. So thank you for all that information. So I want to ask you. You came up with this amazing app. You came up, like you have all this information. How do you implement like automations or laziness inside of your own business or your home life?
Yes, I like to say we're built on laziness. And the other way of saying this, and I often will say this too, is I do not rely on willpower alone. I think like willpower is so overrated, right? Like we have enough things to worry about in building our business and in our lives, that what you really need to create is systems and rails, right? That really enable you to do the things that you need to do, right? So that's my version, right? And this is exactly what you mean about your SOPs. It's like, you got to have the systems and the processes in place. So like that is actually a philosophy that's at the root of our product. Think about that, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Exactly. It's like every single thing that you are building when you are a coach or when you are an entrepreneur, when you're a business consultant, it's focusing on your craft. You do not have time to be a CPA. You do not have time to learn QuickBooks. You do not have time to be a bookkeeper, nor should you need to, right? And it's like, and any of those things, like you have to will yourself to find the time and find the interest and like all of that to do it. It's like, nah, that's not where we should be. Where we should be is create the system so you can set it and forget it and be lazy about it. Right. So that's the same principle that we take across the board when we're building our company. And like we're a technology company. Right. And so you cannot rely on manual systems to do these things. Like you have to, from the beginning, take a really close eye at what processes you have in place, what systems you have in place. And clearly, like we use technology ourselves in addition to building it to help us create those rails so we can set it and forget it.
I love it. I'm glad you like emphasize like the use of systems, because that's like all it boils down to, like whatever we do in life, business, home life, whatever, systems. So thank you for clarifying that. And next, I want to ask you, so what can we expect from Ruby Money for like the rest of the year or going into next year? What projects do you have coming out, if you don't mind sharing?
Yes. So I know that you got in to use our product, and you were one of our early customers, which we love. We have had so much demand that we've actually gone back onto a wait list. So that's a lucky position for us, right? And I'll tell you the reason, right? The reason is we love our customers. We've been so inspired by our customers, like want to work with our customers. And I actually have one-on-one relationships like this, like with many of our customers. And I want to make sure that every single person has a delightful experience. So right now we're a small team, and the last thing I want to do is open the floodgates and like have the, be meh or like not have a personal relationship. So we're back on a wait list right now. All that means, right, is for any of you that are interested in joining us, we are going to get this into your hands as soon as we possibly can. We're just making sure process-wise, system-wise, experience-wise, like everything is set. So we make sure that you have a delightful experience when you first come in. So that's kind of where we're at literally right now. I'll also just give you a statement that I think where I started in this whole story of, look, there is not a system that is built for us as solo operators.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's hacking things together. Now, we started with taxes, and I've been talking a lot about taxes today, but that's not the only thing.
No, it really isn't.
Like there's so much when it comes to handling the money stuff that people want to understand as foundational information and really want to set it and forget it. So all of those things, like that's what we're planning next. Little hints in here. Grabbing your biggest deductions, right? That's also one of the questions that I get a lot. It's like, oh, how can I make sure that I'm grabbing all the biggest deductions that are out there? And I'll already give you a hint on this one. So most people, when you think about deductions, you think about expenses. Like what is it that I can spend to deduct that from my taxes? The best deduction out there is a retirement contribution.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
By the way.
So I'm reframing retirement too, because retirement, I think this way too, is retirement, later.
Yeah.
But in reality, retirement is the best deduction that you get because you still keep the money and it's tax-free. There's nothing else like that. It's not an expense, right? An expense, the money's out the door. It's out of your wallet. For retirement, you're setting it aside for yourself. So it's yours. It's just for you in the future. And you can get the tax deduction now.
Good to know. And I just have to slide that in there. They do take that out. So just make sure you're on the wait list if you're not on there already. So last but not least, where can we find you online? Where do you like hanging out? Where can we see you?
Yes. So especially if you're interested in joining our wait list, go to rubymoney.us. That's rubymoney.us. You can read more about us. You can have some of our educational content there. You can definitely sign up for our waitlist there. We're also on Instagram at rubymoney.us. We made it easy for you. So just remember rubymoney.us. You'll find us on our website, on our landing page. Check us out. Check us out also on Instagram at rubymoney.us.
All right, you guys, there you have it. I hope this was helpful. Make sure you guys get on the wait list. The app is amazing. Like, I'm super excited to have it. Like, I can't wait to see it like really blow up, because I know it is. Because like I said, like I'm lazy. I'm like doing all this stuff. So like just being able for them to take the calculations out, I can look at it and I'm like, okay, so that's how much I actually should have put aside. So it's really helpful. Get on the wait list. It's free. Not only that. So yeah, like it's a no-brainer. But anyway, I am going to wrap up today's episode. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see y'all soon. Or at least I'll be back next Tuesday, and she'll see you around the social media world.